This is CBC Windsor News. I'm Chris Ensing. Katarina's away tonight. Here's what's making news right now.
Once it started, my first thought was reaching out to ensure how he was and if he was safe, and just hearing even periodic updates. It really shows, how challenging the situation's over there, and it really just is gut-wrenching, right?
A lot of people I know, at least athletes that got vaccinated for sports, really wanted, they didn't want to get vaccinated, but they really wanted to play sports.
One of the things that I find most satisfying about this short documentary and the way it's been received is that so many teachers and students are using it.
Thanks for joining us. Extracurricular activities at local school boards are now open to all students, no matter their vaccination status, a sign things are beginning to return to a pre-pandemic normal. But there are still many restrictions in place, both on and off the field. And outstanding in the field is CBC's Jason Vio. Jason, how are students feeling today?
Well, first reaction for many of them, they're excited to get back on the field and play sports again. Some of them haven't done that for a couple of years. I'm at Holy Names Catholic High School football field. I spoke with one football player over at Herman. Again, he's excited. He wants more people to be able to play. He says that means more competition, better competition. And they really, who we're talking about that was affected is a smaller percentage, those unvaccinated students. That's because 79% of kids ages 12 through 17 in Windsor-Essex were vaccinated with 2 doses, and extracurricular sports were temporarily suspended just before Christmas because of the Omicron surge and just resumed in a more fulsome way last month. And it's been 2 years again since many of those students played certain sports, so they're eager to get back out here. And even though students don't need to be vaccinated to play anymore, staff coaches will still be required to be vaccinated or do regular PCR tests if they are not. And volunteers will also need to be vaccinated. Students and coaches will still need to wear masks when they're not doing any sort of physical activity.
We didn't really play in high school, obviously. A lot of people got out of shape, so I think it's been really hard for students to actually get in the right motivation to play sports. That being said, I know my friends and a lot of kids at my school have been really itching to go play sports. You not playing makes it a little bit harder to actually, for some people, including myself, to really find that motivation to, I guess, do better in school.
Now, in a joint statement from all local school boards in Windsor-Essex, they say that spectators will not be permitted to attend. That's because they haven't allowed non-essential visitors inside of school. So for now, those will be the rules, but some anticipate that will change come the spring season, especially in outdoor venues like this one.
Something to keep an eye on there. Jason, how are the school boards handling this change?
Well, it's a bit complicated because some sports are already well underway or are nearing their conclusion. So at the Windsor-Essex Catholic District School Board, for example, they have boys basketball, girls volleyball, and high school hockey already underway. So if there are some unvaccinated students who are now allowed to play and they want to join in on some of those sports that are ongoing, they say that will be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. As for competing in tournaments and regional competitions, whether it be with other school boards or in different parts of the province, well, they say for now that's still on hold.
We also have to look at lifting our restriction with respect to field trips. And we haven't done that at the present time, but we are anticipating future announcements from the ministry. And if the continued wave subsides as it has been subsiding, we do believe that we'll be able to offer a more normalized program that people have come to expect from us on a go-forward basis.
Now, in that joint statement with all of the school boards, they say they continuously are looking to update and review all of these regulations in consultation with the local health unit, as well as awaiting further provincial direction. Chris.
Thanks for the Jason. CBC's Jason Vio live tonight. The president of Ukraine made a special video address to the British Parliament today. Volodymyr Zelensky called for further sanctions against Russia and for the declaration of a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
Please increase the pressure of sanctions against this country, and please recognize this country as a terrorist state. And please make sure that our Ukrainian skies are safe. Best of all to Ukraine and to the United Kingdom.
Zelensky given a standing ovation by British lawmakers. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson called the address historic. In Ukraine, the UN reports more than 2 million people have now been displaced by the fighting. Tens of thousands have been moved today as temporary ceasefires came into effect around several sieged cities. The invasion of Ukraine has Canada expanding and extending its commitment to NATO in Central and Eastern Europe. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made that announcement today in Latvia. He's touring Europe, meeting with government leaders and affirming Canada's support for Ukraine. CBC Travis Donrush has the details.
Canada is not at war, but more than 500 of our troops stand at the ready here on NATO's eastern flank, should that happen. Justin Trudeau met with Canadian Forces members today in Latvia, men and women making big sacrifices.
Ukraine is my heart with Ukraine.
Sometimes, as a soldier, we wish we could be there to help.
Trudeau was at the once Soviet-turned NATO base to thank troops and make this announcement.
I can further announce an early, multi-year renewal of Operation Reassurance to support NATO in Central and Eastern Europe.
But that will do nothing to deal with what is happening inside Ukraine right now. NATO's Secretary General standing firm. You know, the horrors on the streets of Ukraine are playing out hour by hour. Is NATO going to watch a democratic nation fall without intervening militarily?
So what we see in Ukraine now is appalling. That's the reason why we are implementing unprecedented sanctions.
The coalition is providing support, equipment, and training for Ukrainian forces. But that country's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, says NATO is weak. After a series of photo ops today meant to send a message of strength and unity to the Kremlin, Trudeau's view was much different.
Vladimir Putin made a fundamental miscalculation. He thought Ukraine was weak, and he thought NATO was divided. He's been shown how wrong he is.
Asked about the procurement of new equipment for Canada's military and upping spending on national defense in light of the current situation, Trudeau made no firm commitments.
We need to make sure we replace those weapons rapidly and that we continue to invest in the equipment that leads our armed forces to be able to continue to contribute.
The Prime Minister heads to Germany next for a meeting tomorrow with that country's new Chancellor. They'll talk about more typical topics for an international trip. Trade, the environment, still at the top of that agenda, the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. Travis Donrush, CBC News at the Adage military base in western Latvia.
The United States is further tightening its sanctions against Russia in retaliation for the invasion of Ukraine.
Today, I'm announcing the United States is targeting the main artery of Russia's economy. We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine.
The U.S. imports just 8% of its oil and gas from Russia, but the ban is expected to further boost prices in the States and elsewhere. In an effort to lessen the increases, the U.S. and other countries have already pledged to release 60 million barrels of oil from strategic reserves. Biden says that so far the sanctions have crushed the Russian economy and pushed the value of the Russian currency to below 1 cent United States dollars. Now, across southwestern Ontario, there's connections to Ukraine. Just 3 years ago, in 2019, a delegation of Ukrainian mayors came to Chatham-Kent to compare communities and work towards a better future. Here's Councillor Anthony Sakachi beside Andriy Portnia, the mayor of Sosnitsia. It's a photo from a lifetime ago, taken during Portnia's visit to Chatham-Kent in 2019.
We just had a lot in common. We were younger, newer to the role, and we just exchanged kind of stories. And he was asking questions about Canada, and I was asking questions about there.
This is 2 weeks ago today. Ice fishing on Lake Church near Sosnitsia. You'd be forgiven if you thought maybe this was Mitchell's Bay, a show of how similar these two communities are.
Yes, in regards to agriculture and that as well. So they wanted to look at how how the municipality, functioned, how, when we amalgamated, how that went.
Звертаюся до президента США Джозефа Байдена.
Today, no longer any sense of normal. Sosnitsia's mayor takes to social media pleading for NATO to close the airspace above. He says bridges have been bombed. His village, now an island. This zip line, the only way to get food in. When the Russian invasion of Ukraine first started, Sakachi's thoughts went to Portnia and the pride present back in 2019 when they first met.
You could tell right from the start when you talked to him, his people was so important to him, and that's why he was in Canada trying to learn from, our way of life, right? So once it started, my first thought was reaching out to ensure how, how he was and if he was safe, and just hearing even periodic updates. It really shows, how challenging the situation's over there, and it really just is gut-wrenching, right?
One thing made clear in those exchanges, Ukraine's determination.
In my interpretation is that, they're going to continue to put up a fight as long as they can, because it's that important to them, and their country and their people mean just that much to them.
A world away, Sakachi relays messages of support on behalf of himself and ChathamKent.
Really, in a nutshell, it means nothing, but just knowing that they have our love and support and our prayers behind them, it might not mean as much as, we would want it to, but, just to checking in to ensure that we're thinking about them. And at this point, that's nothing compared to what they're going through. And like I said, it just goes back to wishing you could do more, and hoping that every day I text them, are you, message them, are you okay, that you get that response back that yes, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just it goes back to wishing you could do more. I really wish there was more that we could do here, right? So
something I think that a lot of us feel. This is International Women's Day, marked by events here at home and around the world. The gender inequality, it's noticeable when it comes to economic potential. In fact, the World Economic Forum estimates it will take 270 years for men and women to be equals on that level internationally. The CBC's Nisha Patel shows us how some women are trying to change that by investing in other women.
Okay, what do you think about the color?
Bunny and Taryn Gudrora started their company Bloom in their parents' basement. Now their skincare and menstrual products are at big retailers like Sephora.
Growing up, we never saw people who looked like us running companies.
As young women of color, the path to building a business was filled with roadblocks.
Often these personal care companies were run by men who didn't have a tie to the product the same way we do.
Around the world, the people making funding decisions are overwhelmingly male. So out of the billions of dollars for global startups in 2020, female founders received just a sliver of that pie.
Zero Indigenous, as we knew.
In Canada, some high-profile women have been trying to change that. Arti Sharma is one of the co-founders of Backbone Angels, a collective that funds businesses started by women and women of color. And their investments are about more than just writing a check.
Whether that's advice, whether that's going through your financial information every month, or whether that's just being your moral support.
One piece of feedback that we get is,
Sharma wants women to know that if they're trying to start a business, the money is out there.
The biggest impact that we could make is actually invest in women entrepreneurs really early on.
Bloom is one of 42 companies Backbone Angels funded last year. Kobel is another. It's a healthcare app for new parents. Kobel's CEO Swati Mata says because the majority of women starting a business are doing it for the first time, they can be seen as higher risk.
Collectives are helpful because they're willing to take that risk early on.
A risk that Sharma says is worth it.
We want more women entrepreneurs, we want more women in tech, and we want more women in leadership positions.
And more funding for women means more women like these will get that seat at the table. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
A new report by Rise Windsor Essex shows that diverse female entrepreneurs lack services to help them succeed. It shows that there are no specific programs for Indigenous, immigrant, or Black women. Last week, a new store selling African clothing and accessories opened in Windsor. The owner, a seamstress originally from Kenya, spoke with CBC's Jacob Barker about the challenges that she faced getting her business started.
The leggings, I do the leggings, I do the t-shirts. The famous dashiki. Obviously, from my experience, I've applied for support. Like I tried the bank, TD Bank. I haven't heard from them. I don't know if it's anything to do with how I look, but I just know I don't get the support that I do, like I deserve. And I know with the pandemic and a new business in a small town, we really do need the support.
Why do you think that you weren't able to get a loan?
I don't know. I think because I'm a single mother and they think I'm high risk. I don't know how that would be, because I would think a single mother is like a hard-working person. I have 9 young people who depend on me. And so I go to my other job 10 to 6, and then come home, get them ready, and then come here.
Do you think there should be more supports for people that are in your position?
Yes. All levels, like the federal, provincial, even the city. But we don't know who to contact. Like if you go online and search, you don't really find anything. And then when you do, you try to apply, you don't get a response. Some of them don't respond, and then the rest, they just say no. I wanted something with the hair, like our hair, so when girls have this kind of hair, they know how to, they kind of relate. Acknowledging is good, but action is better. So I commend them for seeing that there's an issue, but we want to see action. We want them to find us or give us an idea of how to get in touch with them and see how, if the words and actions actually merge.
Is it something you would use right now? It sounds
yes, I would. I would think like for a diverse city like Windsor is becoming, they should have specific programs that target specific diverse population. Like for us women, we should have some kind of business organization that we can go to when we need help, and then also like something that caters for the ethnic.
A longtime museum curator and a group of local filmmakers are being honored for their work preserving the history of the Underground Railroad. The Ontario Heritage Trust gave an award to Shannon Price at a virtual ceremony during Black History Month. She says the news of the past few years has heightened interest in Black history.
Well, I think, Black history, it's Canadian history, it's North American history. It's being left out of those textbooks, and it is part of who we are. And, people really need to understand the full depth and meaning of, Canadian history. So I think that is so significant, especially with what has occurred in the last several years. We really need to embrace that history.
The documentary, The North Was Our Cannon, received the Lieutenant Governor's Ontario Heritage Award for Excellence in Conservation. It explores Sandwich Town's Underground Railroad history.
There's this realization that there are so many more stories that are of equal importance that really lend texture and color, no pun intended, to our understanding of how this country came to be and how we developed this wonderful humanity and sense of social justice and democracy and rights for which Canada is known around the world. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because people pushed for those rights and insisted on them and sacrificed to achieve them so that we now can all enjoy them.
We'll take a live look outside there, and it's starting to feel like it's ship season. I think the ice is making its way out. I believe those big old boats will be coming across. Canada flags waving a little bit there too. The sun is out. We are in good spirits today. Colette Kennedy with the forecast next. Colette Kennedy joins us now for a live look at the weather. The sun is out, and that's enough for me. We're doing all right. A little cloudy, though, earlier today. Is this sticking around? What we got?
You know, I think sometimes this time of year, especially, the sun, in terms of how it can make you feel, goes farther than at other months, perhaps, right? By the time, you know, you get to March.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so some cloud cover earlier, so nice to get that kind of breaking out here. And, you know, temperatures are just above freezing, but we are going to see a bit of a spike as we head into tomorrow with a few things that are kind of going on. A little bit of a burst of energy sort of north and a more major system that's to the south of us. Our current temperatures, or pardon me, winds, are coming from a southerly direction, and they're not really strong, but they'll pick up a little bit, 20 to 30 kilometers an hour at times tomorrow. Through much of the day, they're either from a southerly direction as we're starting out the day, or they turn westerly, and that's when they get a little bit stronger. But it will be enough to warm those temperatures up to seasonal, or actually even a little bit above seasonal. So a little bit of a treat coming for midweek. Some flurry activity from that burst of energy that's off to the northeast. I want to show you the broader perspective here so that you can see this other system I'm talking about. So just starting to bring those soaking rains now pushing up towards Tennessee and over towards the Virginias on the way there. But it's going to kind of track, so it just falls to the south of us, at least with the precipitation, stays south of the lower Great Lakes. But the clouds, well, they'll be something we will have to deal with at least somewhat. So we're kind of on the borderline with that through the overnight hours, some increasing cloudiness, and then we'll certainly see that through the morning hours, becoming overcast at times. And then I think as we get into the second part of the day, we'll get into some breaks there and get some sunshine coming back. So probably a little bit better into the afternoon because you'll have those rising temperatures, plus you get to benefit from some of the sun coming along with it. And enjoy it because Thursday we lose much of it. I look at those temperatures tonight, a bit of a range from cooler in London, -2 for Windsor, and there you go. That's if we carve that out into the afternoon. So just keep in mind it's not going to be there all day with the sun. And then Thursday, temperatures coming down a bit, maybe even cooler than this. And then Friday, we'll have another system come through with a bit of light snow and then a cool down into the weekend, Chris.
Not bad, not bad. Snow's okay as long as it's not like that big week of rain. We can stay away from that type of stuff. That's all right.
Yeah, well, I can't control it, but I'm glad you're okay with
We're on board for it. I think we all could, right? We all look east and blow, and then just send that system that way. We'll figure it out. Thanks,
Sounds
Colette.
good.
Now, coming up next, we have your Paralympic update, a look at the medal count after the break. The medal count continues to climb for Canada on day 4 of the 2022 Paralympics in Beijing, bringing the overall medal total to 13. Here's the CBC's Devin Haru with a roundup of the day's competition.
The medal streak continues for Canada at the Paralympics here in Beijing. On day 4 of competition, Mark Arends of Hartsville, Prince Edward Island, winning a gold in the 10-kilometer biathlon event. He shot perfect. That was the difference in the event. It's Arends' 10th medal in his Paralympic career and 2nd medal of these games. Where I'm at, here in the Ice Cube, a rough day at the office for the Canadian wheelchair curlers. Losses to Korea and Slovakia today has Canada with a 4-3 record after starting 4-0 and now in a predicament to make the playoffs. The Canadian curlers have 3 games left in the round robin. They're probably going to have to win every game from here on out. There was some good news for Canadians on ice. A para ice hockey team picking up a convincing victory over the Koreans 6-0 earlier today in Beijing. They punched their ticket to the semifinal, and that goes later this week. For CBC Sports in Beijing, I'm Devin Haru.
And before we leave you tonight, a reminder that it's International Women's Day, marked by events around the world and beyond. As Chinese astronaut Wang Yiping recorded message where she says that she hoped every woman could pursue the career that they loved. Yiping is on a 6-month mission aboard the Chinese space station back on Earth. Women in Paris marching a call to end violence against women, calling on the French government to do more. In Tokyo, women were among those marching to call for a greater equality. A World Economic Forum survey scored Japan as the lowest among major economies when it came to the gender gap and economic participation. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media too. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.